Okay, my DIY for today is chocolate chip cookies, and I'm going to make a ton of them, but I'm going to freeze them. And what's fun about making them and then freezing them, you can just get one out and just cook one just for you, or you can get 20 out, or just however you make. So I like Hershey's dark chocolate chips, and I'm just getting the recipe off the back of the package, because they wouldn't put it there if it wasn't good, and everybody has their favorite, but I always just get the one off the package. I typed it up so it'd be easier to read, and I'm going to get all the ingredients ready. Okay, let's get started, and it calls for 4 of these cubes of butter, but I don't think it needs that much, so I'm only going to put in 2. But it depends on you guys, but I'll just put the 2 in. Okay, first of all, I'm putting these beaters in to beat up the eggs and the sugar. Okay, it said to stir in all the dry ingredients. So I did the sugar, white sugar, the brown sugar, the flour, the salt, the baking soda. So that's all in there ready to go. Just kind of stir it a little bit, get it all mixed in. And the butter, when you soften the butter, I just put it in the microwave. You don't want the butter hot or liquidy. I think that's where people ruin their cookies. So, and I'm going to do 3 squares of butter. Okay, and if it's too soft, put it back in the freezer, because this is what ruins the cookies. But the butter has to be just softened. See, and that's a little bit runny. So when I chop up this butter, it'll work. Now I've got the chips all ready to go. Okay. Oh, and I'm doubling this recipe. It is a double recipe, but I never double the chocolate chips. It's just too chocolatey. Like, this is 2 cups of chocolate chips, and I'm doubling it, and I'm still going to put in 2 cups of chocolate chips. That's enough. So I double the recipe, but not the chocolate chips. Okay, so I've got the 4 eggs, and let's get them mixed up. Mix them nice and good. I've got the butter softened, so we'll put that in. Okay, let's put the butter in. The eggs are whipped nice. Okay. That butter in there. Okay. Alright, now I'm going to switch out those beaters and put in the dough beaters. Okay. Put the lid back on. And let's add the dry stuff. Put all that dry stuff in there. And let's see. Mix that in. Okay. Let that mix for about 1 minute. Okay, I did not add all of the flour yet, because I want to put the chocolate chips in and the nuts. And if I add all the flour, they won't stick. Okay, let's add the rest of the nuts. Okay, I put in walnuts. You put in the kind of nuts you like. Okay, let that mix a bit. And then I'll add the rest of the flour. Okay. Now what I want is for the flour to, the dough to not stick to the sides anymore. So I just add enough till it, because you don't want it too dry and you don't want it too wet. Okay, it's not sticking to the sides anymore. Mix it in there nice and good there. Okay, and then, whoops, still feels a little sticky. I'll have to test it. Okay, this needs a little bit more flour. Okay, now what I'm going to let it do, I haven't added the rest of the flour yet, probably about a fourth a cup more. But I want to let it sit for a minute. Let's get a little bit more flour. Just a little bit. Oh, there, now it's starting to clean the sides off really nicely there. Okay, let that stir about another minute. Oh, these are going to be good. Sides are nice and clean, then test it again. You have to designate yourself to be the taster. It's really good. Okay, now I've turned the oven on, and I'm going to let this set for about 20 minutes, and I'll come back. Okay, the reason I let it set for about 20 minutes is because I want everything to absorb, and because a lot of times the cookies are too dry because you just keep adding flour and just don't need to. So we're not going to keep adding flour. We're just going to let it set and absorb, and then we'll check it, and then I'm going to put it in the refrigerator. Okay, I've let it sit for about 10 minutes or so, 20 minutes. Let's see how it's doing. Oh, it looks good. So now I'm just going to take the beater bar out. Okay, clean it off. Alright, these are the ones I'm going to cook. You just take 2 teaspoons and just blob them on there. And then I'll show you how to, then I'll put the rest in the fridge for about an hour. I make sure each cookie has a chocolate chip in it. Okay, that'll be enough. Okay, and then just kind of, I don't know, I just kind of roll them up just a little. This one looks a little bit little. Okay, now I'll cook them for about 8 to 10 minutes. Okay, let's put them in the oven. Okay, set timer for 8 minutes. 8 minutes. Okay, and the rest of this is going in the fridge. Oh yeah, before I put them in the fridge, I'm going to make a log out of them. Okay. You know, just then it'll be easier when it comes time to put them in the freezer. Okay, so just set that aside. Okay, I'll just put these on a cookie sheet because they're really soft. Put them in the fridge. Okay, the timer just went off. I think I'll let them stay a little bit longer. The amount of time it took to clean up, so I just cleaned up and put the cookies in the fridge. Then it's time for these to be taken out. Looking good. Okay, now you just take them off the cookie sheet and onto a cooling rack. And this is just a teaspoon size. I said not to butter the cookie sheet. Looks like there's enough butter on there to The cookies that are cooling off, and that's all I'm going to make, and that's even too many. And I have a cookie jar, but I don't put cookies in it, and the grandkids say, Grandma, how come you don't put cookies in the cookie jar? I go, well, guess who's going to eat them all? Me. So I don't put cookies in the cookie jar. Very rarely do we have cookies around here, because I would just eat them all. So, and this is a good idea to pre-freeze the cookies and have them just ready to go. When you have company come over and they want cookies, they're not sitting in a cookie jar. They're sitting in the freezer waiting to be cooked. Okay, I got the cookies out of the fridge. And you just unwrap them. Like okay, then just, yeah. And just then I'll freeze them for a couple of hours and then just put them in a bag. So that's a lot of cookies. Okay, just stick them on here. Then you can use that saran wrap to cover these with till they freeze. You don't have to. 2 hours, we'll come back and those will be frozen. Just put them in here for a couple of hours. Okay, how about we taste one of these cookies? Good. I didn't put all that butter in because, you know, you don't need that much butter. Good. Okay, I got the cookies out of the freezer. Just loosen these up with a spatula. Throw them in the bag, freezer bag. Put them in there. You got yourself cookies ready to go. I always date everything. Okay, 4. That's how you do cookies. And then when you want to get them out, just cook them. So those will go back in the freezer. Thank you. Okay, and I predated this bag. Oh, I wrote it on the wrong side. Put the cookies in there. Have them all ready to go. Hope you enjoy this. Hope you enjoy this DIY. Thank you and good night, everybody.
My hands were filled with dirt when I was a little girl. Turned on the water spout, nothing didn't come out. Mama quickly walked in, looked at her and I grinned. I said, don't worry, Mom, 'cause Daddy can fix it.